Let me introduce you to John Henry Papa Skeets Brown. Charles?
All right.
I'd like to introduce you to Charles Gray, who has become, in the few years that we've been working on this, a very dear friend. Charles is a digger. He's always looking for information. He is probably the expert on the Doric Lodge, and he's also the historian for the Bates School, which is why I'm so thrilled that tomorrow it will be renamed, I should say, the proper way. Charles?
Thank you, Mike. This is an honor for me because Papa Skeets was important to me. And if I get a little emotional, bear with me. Because I didn't know how much he meant to me in my life until after I got old and understood what he was talking about. So, I have about 4 or 5 pages of information, but I broke it down because of time. So I'm gonna read what I have, and again, bear with me. I want to thank the National Endowment of the Humanities. Michael Hughes, Director, Danville, Boyle County African American Historical Society, for this opportunity. With the assistance of Carolyn Prince, Mike Dennis, Barry Sanborn, and Cindy Peck were the ones who made this presentation possible. And I want to emphasize this. I had the knowledge of what went on, but I couldn't put it on paper. So they helped me get through this. I do not want to minimize or take more credit than I'm due. Without them, this historical landmark recognition would have not materialized in this manner by me. I'm learning that I do have talents, but I do need other people too.
All right.
I had 5.5 pages of reflection prepared. Since I have a half hour, or probably less, to make this presentation, I will highlight some of the reflections. If you want to review the reflections you made, I want to allow most of the time to honor special tributes to Mr. John Brown, Papa Skeets, and answer questions if there be any. My early memories of 2nd Street was my brother and I getting a haircut at Mr. Dallas Jones's barbershop. One day we witnessed a gentleman named Bronston, we call him Bronx, Hale, getting cut in the neck. When his heart beat, the blood would spurt out his neck. I want to say today that we have a picture of him. And I also heard today that there is a newspaper article verifying what I'm talking about. So I knew what happened at 6 or 7 years old, but I didn't have no reference to it, and I couldn't prove it. But as of today, it's a fact. To say the least, I was shocked as a kid, but I didn't know what to expect. Nearly 60 years later, when I began working to preserve the Shelby City African American Cemetery in Junction City, I learned that Bronson Hale had died in 1961 and was the last documented person buried in the Shelby County Cemetery. I was a neighbor of one of the owners of the elite cab company, Orestes Richardson, we call him Tiny. And one day he asked me if I would dispatch the cabs. And with the counseling of my parents, I was employed. I thought I had a ride, and at the time, the white cab company only served the white people. Elite served black people and white people. There were many legitimate businesses located on 2nd Street. Due to some of the activities that went on, many black families did not visit 2nd Street. When your parents allowed you to go to the pool room, you had people that had their eye on you. And they would tell your parents. And if you didn't act right, they would let your parents know.
Yep.
And that meant you couldn't go back.
Yep.
You did not want a bad report to go to your house. There were a lot of serious consequences if that happened. It could be pretty bad. Pool was a recreation sport for some, and for others, it was a profession. It played for money. Many pool hustlers came through 2nd Street. I did not witness it myself, but it was told that the great Minnesota Feds once came to them and played pool in the elite pool hall. I did see others though. The professionals would come, and on Friday, they used the house sticks. But when they came back on Saturday, they had their sticks in the box. And when they left, they had all the money. The way they played on Friday was a whole lot different from the way they played on Saturday. So I think that's called bait and switch, isn't it?
Good turn.
I was exposed to Masonic order when I dispatched the cabs, and I became interested in what they were all about. The only way you can know, you must become a member. I joined when I turned 21. I really loved the work, and it became a big part of my life. I rose to the rank of 33rd degree Mason. I also was a Shriner in Lexington, Kentucky. Now we're going to get to something else. The main subject is Papa Skeets. Someone who had a constant presence on 2nd Street was a World War I veteran named John Henry Brown. As a teenagers, boys, and older men, we witnessed Papa Skeets daily in the pool hall. He almost always wore several layers of clothes, winter and summer. He clearly had Alzheimer's or dementia, and we would talk, and he would talk to us, and we talked to him. As kids, sometimes we thought that what he was saying and talking about, we didn't know what he was saying. We didn't realize the importance. And we just thought he was walking and entertaining us. That's the way we looked at it. Sometimes he would say some funny thing, and we got a big kick out of that. But none of us boys ever made fun of him. He was a part of the black community, and we felt protected of him. Quite often, though, he would talk about his service in World War I. We listened and laughed at him and wondered about the strange sounding place, name he mentioned, and events he described. What was to talk about? He reported his stories so often that I remember a lot of them even after 50 years. 2 years ago, I heard a lady at the Solar 2nd Street Festival mention the Battle of Chateau Thierry. I said to myself and to her that I've heard that before. He talked about Chateau Thierry and Musaigon Forest, and we didn't know what he was talking about. So, he may have mentioned other battles, but I didn't understand his pronunciation clearly. What were Cartagena, Bellawood, and St. Michael's? Papa Skeets made it clear that he had participated in World War I in France. He was state we were in the battle in Musaigon Forest in Chateau Thierry. Never lost a man captured, a trench, or a foot of ground. As a teenager, I heard that history lecture from him. And at the age of 74, it still rings in my ears loud and clear. And being enlightened on the role and history of black troops in the war, I felt very proud and honored to have known Papa Skeets, a man from Danville, Kentucky, who participated. I hope that one day the history of our local African-American veterans will find a permanent home for his preservation. There are a few of my recollections of some of the experience I had on 2nd Street. There are many, many more. Looking back, I think what an experience I had to prepare me for this life journey. The many things I regret, one is that I did not utilize my 2nd Street experience better. But as I end this remembrance of the past, I believe that we must be thankful for the things we have experienced and the knowledge we obtained. I just want to break here just for a minute that 2nd Street was good, it was bad, and it was ugly. But you learn what to do and what not to do. And they had people that was doing bad things. It was bad characters, but that didn't mean you could do it. And if they would say, boy, straighten up, you better straighten up. Or if they didn't tell you nothing, they didn't care nothing about you. So I learned that over the years, that if people take interest in you, they're concerned about you. And that should be a positive thing. So often nowadays, you can't tell a kid nothing because the parents don't lie. So I'm thankful for Shell, a whole lot of people. Bill Edwards, he could open a car. Buddy told him, you can't open my car. He locked the doors and he went in the pool room for 5 minutes and came back, the trunk was open, all 4 doors. I mean, you had some character. You had some character. So, as Mr. John Henry Papa Skeets Brown would say at the conclusion of his lectures, and I mean, we heard the same thing every day, 2 or 3 times a day, if you sit and listen. I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. Now, what that meant, I have lived and experienced what I have stated. And I know it to be factual. Rest in peace, Mr. John Henry Brown. You fought a good fight. You finished your course, and you kept the faith. Thank you all.